Coming up on OU Nightly, on this election day, the nation on high alert. Why one man was arrested at the Capitol, and where to turn if election news is stressing you out. Plus, in Oklahoma, hear who is helping families pick up the pieces after the weekend's tornado outbreak. This is OU Nightly.
Thanks for watching OU Nightly. I'm Sophia Cabrera.
And I'm Chewy Dominguez. We begin tonight with what some are calling the most important election in our nation's history.
Votes being cast for president, senator, representatives, state questions, and Oklahoma Supreme Court judges. And OU Nightly has team coverage for you tonight. Let's
get started at a polling place right off campus with Abigail Franklin. Abigail, how's the line out there?
Well, the good news is that the lines here are pretty much 0 to none. You can kind of see behind me that there's no one waiting here at University Lutheran Church. And that's been kind of the case through some other voting locations I was at earlier today. But, you know, polling staff, want to let you know that if you want to vote, the time might be now to come out and get your vote in. And that's because the work rush is on its way, which means the lines are going to pick up eventually as well. Now, if you are heading to the polls, you still need to vote. You want to keep in mind that you're going to need a valid ID, and that includes a federal ID, an Oklahoma ID, a tribal ID, or even a voter registration card that is not expired. It's very crucial that you check that date on your ID. If it is expired, don't worry, don't leave, because you can ask for a provisional ballot. And when you arrive to your voting location, you cannot be wearing a political signage that includes T-shirts or hats. You're going to be asked to take them off, so you might as well take them off before you get inside. And if you're unsure where you can vote, you can put your information into OK Voter Portal to find your polling location, and you can also view a sample ballot there. You can also view that sample ballot while you're waiting in line if you have to go out later tonight. Earlier this morning, I did speak with one voter who said that he didn't want to vote early or by absentee ballot.
Kind of take part when everybody else does. I think if you have genuine concern, vote early for sure. But I don't know. I like it's kind of like a holiday. It's, you know, doing your duty on election day.
Well, we're just a couple hours away from polls closing here in Oklahoma. If you are in line at 7 p.m., it's crucial that you do not leave that line because you can still vote. It's going to be a long night ahead of us for voters and poll workers. OU Nightly is going to have team coverage of this all night long as votes start coming in, so you got to stick with us here as we bring the results to you. Live at University Lutheran Church, Abigail Franklin, OU Nightly.
Thanks, Abigail. If you still need a ride to go vote, rideshare apps like Lyft and Uber are offering 50% off to riders going to the polls. Across the metro, Embark bus services are free. You can also call the Oklahoma Democratic Party to book a ride.
And many analysts say polls indicate one of the closest presidential races in modern history. OU Nightly's Oliver Schaefer continues our coverage from the Election Center.
Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump enter their final stretch for the White House. Harris mailed her ballot in early and has spent the day in Washington, D.C. doing radio interviews, hoping to sway some key undecided voters.
Ours has not been a fight against something, it has been a fight for something.
In Palm Beach, Florida, after voting, Trump spoke about his campaign, saying his voters will not be violent if he loses.
My supporters are not violent people. I don't have to tell them that.
States and more than a dozen states in preparation for election results. They have deployed more than 250 personnel across the country, with 3 states on standby. In Georgia, Atlanta polling stations opened later than expected after non-credible bombing threats. The Georgia Secretary of State says the threats were of Russian origin. And in another battleground state, a Michigan man is arrested for allegedly threatening to commit a violent attack if Trump does not win the election. Chewy, Sophia?
Thanks, Oliver. In D.C., U.S. Capitol Police say a man is in custody after he had a flare gun, a torch, and clothes that smelled like fuel. Police stopped the man as he tried to go through screening at the Capitol Visitor Center. No one was hurt. A law enforcement source says police do not believe the arrest was related to the election.
As Washington, D.C. sits on the spotlight today, one street just a few miles away from the House is up for grabs. Might sound familiar for us in the Sooner State. Gaylord News reporter Victoria Anderson talked to voters in Oklahoma and voters on Oklahoma Avenue, who all have a similar feeling about this historic election.
Today, the battle for the House on Pennsylvania Avenue comes to a stop. And while there's no one way to vote, there is one thing bonding all Americans today.
How long has this election felt?
About 5 years.
From Oklahoma Avenue here in Washington, D.C. to Oklahoma City, the twists and turns of this election cycle have felt overwhelming for a lot of voters. And though today comes with a lot of uncertainty, people nationwide are just ready to see history play out.
I want to see how it turns out. I am really excited. I want to see what happens.
Though voters on Oklahoma Avenue and the street's namesake are divided by thousands of miles, Election Day is hitting home for everyone.
Even though I live in a state that never changes, we're more hopeful that our votes will be more important.
Even with the historic speed of the Harris-Walz campaign, the familiar name on the Republican ticket is giving some voters deja vu.
I think a lot of people my age have had Trump running for president through middle school, high school, and college.
And as polls start to close, voters from the Sooner State and the Sooner Street are bracing for long-awaited answers.
Yeah, having an answer and just change within the society, whatever that looks like.
America now finally moving past the bumps in the road that paved the way to the White House. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Victoria Anderson, Gaylord News.
OU Nightly and Gaylord News will be keeping a close watch tonight on the election and any reaction in the capital city.
And Chewy, it seems like after days of dreary, gloomy weather, the sun has finally come out to us here in Norman.
Yeah, I agree. Let's check in with OU meteorologist Dylan Strelko to see how long this sunny and cool weather will be sticking around with us. Dylan?
Yeah, guys, it's pretty shocking to see the sun out today. You would think, you know, with the last pattern that we had this past weekend, you never thought the sun was going to come back, but it came back out here today. Those temperatures did cool off for us, getting to about 61 currently here in Norman, but the dew point and the humidity has come down, so it is definitely feeling a little more seasonable than it was this past weekend. But coming up in your main forecast, we're going to be breaking down that election forecast timeline, as well as recapping that crazy weekend we had and tracking that next chance for some rain.
And hope is hard to find in the aftermath of a tornado, but hope does live in tornado-damaged Choctaw. OU Nightly's Jonathan Scott has the story.
Hope can be found in boxes filled with baby supplies, bags of necessary hygiene essentials, or even something as small as a sandwich wrapped in foil.
When we have a disaster that happens, we're going to go into the community, whether it's ours or somebody else's, and try to help the people that have been affected.
These boxes filled with essential supplies can be taken physically, but there is something else just as special that can't be held.
I think one of the things is hope. Hope to the community when all you have of value left of your home is maybe finding a picture that's laying in the rubble. That's a lot of times your most valuable possession, and we can't give anything to them other than hope and letting them know that people care, we're here to help, and that God's here with you.
Around the state and nation, they call this the Oklahoma Standard. Here at Choctaw Church of Christ, they call it handing out hope. Reporting from Choctaw, Jonathan Scott, OU Nightly.
To help victims of last weekend's tornado outbreak, you can donate to the American Red Cross.
And coming up, a free service at OU is helping ease election anxiety with their services.
Find out how this free mental health resource are helping OU students.
And a monumental medical procedure in Nevada.
A young boy receives a life-changing surgery. Up next after the break.
It's election day, and that can cause a lot of anxiety for many people. OU Nightly's Savannah Simmons has ways you can de-stress and more in today's Health Beat.
Yeah, Chewy, Sophia, if you've got a little or a lot of election anxiety, there is help available from OU. The TELUS Health Student Support app is a 24/7 mental health counseling and support service that's free for all OU students. The app provides resources like one-time or even scheduled counseling with licensed therapists and after-hour crisis support for urgent situations. It's easy to get connected. Just head up to the App Store, search, and download. And some good news, a Nevada boy with a rare condition now has a new lease on life. 7-year-old Carter has a condition that causes his skin to not shed properly and made it difficult for him to close his eyes. The surgery consisted of taking skin from another part of Carter's body to replace the skin on his eyelids. Carter will most likely need another skin graft in 10 years, depending on how his skin grows. 2 women invented a solution for many Muslim women who work in the healthcare field. In 2022, 2 respiratory therapists from Minnesota launched disposable and hygienic FDA compliant. Since launching their company, Mawada, in 2022, they have received requests from around the country and are launching a modest scrub line next year. And a new study shows that reducing sugar intake during pregnancy and up to age 2 may cut a child's risk of chronic illness in adulthood. Chewy, Sophia.
Thanks, Savannah. Social media giants are cracking down on your ability to filter out political ads.
Coming up, why Meta and Google's latest moves could change what you see in your feed during this election season.
And if you haven't quite made it to the polls already, you'll want to stick around because I'll be breaking down this evening's forecast after the break. Well, welcome back to OU Nightly. I'm Dylan Strelko. Now, if you're just like me and you haven't been able to get out there to the polls, maybe you had a busy work day, I'm timing out this evening forecast for you. You're going to see those temperatures coming out of the upper 50s into the mid 50s as we go throughout the rest of the evening. But the sun did clear out for us, though, so it should be a relatively clear evening throughout the rest of the evening. And again, that sunset will be starting a little bit earlier with that daylight savings. Now, for the rest of us here in the state, cooling off into the mid to upper 40s. It's going to be a little more seasonable than it has been these last couple of days here. And you're going to see the sun currently shining right now over central Oklahoma. Those clouds were out there early this morning, but it did clear out and those temperatures did cool off just a little bit. 61 is that current temperature here in Norman, but the dew point and the humidities have come down, as well as those winds out of the west light at 5 miles per hour. Temperatures here in the metro, 59 there in Oklahoma City, down there in Purcell, 61, and out west over there, 60 over there in Weatherford. But for the rest of the state, you're getting a little bit warmer down here in southeastern Oklahoma, 69 in Idabel, but 56 up there in Tulsa, where it is a little bit cooler. Now, the next few days, it's going to be fairly comfortable. Lots of sunshine for Wednesday and Thursday. Temperatures are going to be in the mid to upper 60s, 69 for Wednesday and 66 on Thursday. But here comes our next chance for some rain there on Friday. Now, speaking of rain, a lot of people have been wondering just how much rain we saw over this past weekend. Now, here in Norman, we saw just over 3.3 inches, so 3.36 inches to be exact here in Norman, but places like Oklahoma City and Tulsa saw well over 5 to 6 inches of rain. And now with our next storm system that's going to be right here over the Rocky Mountains, it's going to be starting to build in over the next couple of days, and we'll start to see those rain chances pick up Thursday night. But Friday is where we're going to see more widespread rain chances here. This is showing Friday at 5 p.m. Now, this will begin to move out of here by late Friday night, and so our forecast for Saturday should be overall mostly dry. But here's your 7-day forecast. Like I said, those rain chances will pick up on Thursday. Widespread rain chances on Friday. The temperatures should stay relatively seasonable. We'll see that sunshine come back later on this weekend, but those seasonal temperatures will stick around well into next week.
Well, I know I can't complain. I really like the fact that we're having, you know, a lot of sun, but also some cool, seasonable, like you said, temperatures here in Norman. It's nice. It's nice to enjoy it and walk around and not be sweating or just be drenched and freezing cold as I walk
agree.
campus.
And you know, with this past weekend with the weather, it was like, is it November? Is it May? I'm glad we're back on to the November track.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dylan. Yeah. And Google and Meta platforms are blocking political advertisements during this election period to prevent misinformation. Meta began their ban last week, not allowing social issues, elections, or political advertisements to go across their platforms. The ban is extending until later this week for Meta-based platforms. Meanwhile, Google says they aim to implement a similar plan after the polls close tonight. And both OU women's and men's basketball teams opened their seasons last night.
Brooke, I heard Sooner fans can see a lot of new faces this season.
That's right. Don't leave yet. We'll show you who you can look out for on the court. And Brent Venables, why this weekend game just means more, next up in sports. Hello, I'm Brooke Griggs, and it's time for sports. The OU win against Maine means the Sooners need one more win to make a bowl game. And with the schedule for the rest of the season having games against Mizzou, Alabama, and LSU, winning this weekend in Columbia, Missouri just means more. But Team 130's focus isn't on bowl eligibility. Instead, for head coach Brent Venables, he's keeping his eyes on doing the best they can every week.
That's where the focus has been. It's been in the work. It's been in the schemes. It's been in the transition in staff. It's been in where is Oklahoma beating Oklahoma, and what can we do to lean on the strengths of this football team and protect the weaknesses of this football team, all the while improving the football team. And there'll be a byproduct of that.
And over on the court, OU women's basketball is off to a hot start. The Sooners hosted Southern last night in their season opener. Oklahoma led the Lady Jaguars scoreless in the first 5 minutes, and transfer center Reagan Beers led the Crimson and Cream with 21 points and 14 rebounds. The final score 76-44 OU. OU men's basketball played their first game last night against Lindenwood. The only two returning starters were game leaders. Jalen Moore was the top scorer with 22 points, and Sam Godwin had a double-double with a game high of 15 rebounds. With almost a completely new starting team, the Sooners showed what they're made of with a blowout win, 93-60. And onto the pros, Austin Reeves showed he still has some Sooner magic after scoring 17 points for the Lakers. But Reeves and Los Angeles lost against the Pistons 115-103. Buddy Hield balled out last night, securing 20 points against the Wizards. He was the leading scorer and top three-point shooter for the Warriors, ending the night with a 125-112 win. And the Oklahoma City Thunder made history last night. They're the first NBA team ever to begin a season 7-0 and win each game by double digits, and are the only team this season to allow less than 100 points per game. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander led the Thunder with 21 points and 9 assists against the Orlando Magic. Thunder win 102-86. And two former Sooners went head-to-head in Monday Night Football. In Kansas City, Samaje Perine tied the Buccaneers and Chiefs game with this touchdown. And Baker Mayfield tied the game again with a second touchdown in the last minute of the game. But Tampa Bay lost in overtime 30-25. Sophia, Chewy.
Thanks so much, Brooke. Coming up, we've got a sweet treat on our radar that you can snag for free.
Stick around to see what has us saying holy smokes after the break.
I'm Abigail Nickel at the OU Nightly Update Desk. In North Carolina, 2 polling places are extending their voting hours. The precincts were unavailable for voters because of technical issues. And back here in Oklahoma, polls close at 7. Pollsters say if you are in line by then, you will be able to vote. Election experts believe results will be confirmed by midday Wednesday. Sophia, Chewy.
Thanks, Abigail. If you're looking for a sweet treat to snack on after a long day of voting, Krispy Kreme has got you as they celebrate National Donut Day. Today is the second donut dedicated day of the year, with the first occurring in June. For perks, head over to any Krispy Kreme for a free original glazed donut, plus an I voted sticker to celebrate your civic duty. Now, Dylan, free donuts, free stickers, civic duty, beautiful weather. What else could we want?
Well, honestly, you've got it all there for you. So if you're planning on heading out to the polls, or if you want to go to Krispy Kreme and get a donut, here is your evening forecast. Temperatures are climbing out of the 60s into the 50s, but overall staying cool and dry.
Thank you, Dylan, and thank you for watching OU Nightly.
I'm Shu Dominguez, and be sure to watch OU Nightly live weekdays at 4:30. Good night.